All right, guys, last night I pulled that locked up 350 out of the little 71 K10 here. It is the original motor of the truck again, and I don't think it's ever been out of the truck. Got 104,000 original miles on the truck. The motor is greasy and grimy as can be. Every last bolt put up a fight, like, well, it had been tight for 50 plus years, and yeah, I don't think that motor's been out of the truck yet once before. So it's out now. It is still locked up. I was maybe thinking there was a chance could be something holding it up, you know, maybe with the clutch, the transmission, but that really didn't make sense either for how it was acting. And I just came out here this morning and started playing around with this thing and busting the motor mount pads off of it. And look at this. This is what was in the exhaust manifold. Still pretty rusty in there. And look at inside these exhaust ports. Look at this. This is how I found it. So at some point in time, it got water in it from the bottom or from the top. The truck could have got flooded. We don't really have floods here, but there's a chance. Because that are full of water somehow, some way. Or what I'm honestly thinking with this damn thing, because the rest of the truck was just ransacked by critters from sitting in the field there for so long, I think they crawled up through the exhaust and made nests and just any little hole and crevice they could find. And you see that, you know, especially if the exhaust is open all the way. You know, if they can, it doesn't have a tailpipe on it. There's just a muffler behind the cab. And, you know, if they can hop on that muffler and crawl through it, it's a straight shot right up the tubes, right up into this engine bay, and they can hang out here in the winter and make their nest. And I don't know. I've seen it before, and I think that's what happened to this one, because it's gross. It's grody in there. So even if this motor is ever, you know, actually broken free after all this mess is maybe out of the way, or it's soaked longer or something, it's never going to run right. This thing's got to be rebuilt, even if it even can be rebuilt. I mean, these heads are possibly shot from all the rust and gunk that's been in them for all these years, and who knows what those cylinder walls look like. So still might tear it down just for shits and gigs, just to see how bad it looks inside, and if it even is a worthy core of rebuilding. Just got the passenger side loose. And look at this, we already got stuff falling down. Yeah, same thing. This whole deal's full of junk too. Not as bad as the other side, but it's still bad. Yeah. Oh, we got a dead one. There you go. Look at that. There's our culprit. It tells the guy all he needs to know right there. Critters. They ruin these things. They're just shitheads, you know? I don't know if there's just... I mean, sitting for anything is bad, but it sucks. Because this motor probably, when it was parked, was probably fine. You know, it probably ran still. Maybe not good. It might have been worn out, but I'm sure it wasn't locked up when it was parked. Locked up due to sitting. And the critters getting to it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Sorry, I'm trying to kind of hold two things at once here. Look how crystallized the antifreeze was getting too. It was starting to make a little jelly, you know. Kind of a little crystallized formation there. Another 5-10 years and that would have been one of them cool little cut in half rocks that you see for sale at the flea markets with little crystal structures in them. Could have been just a little thermostat housing with the antifreeze crystal on the inside. Junk. Oh, okay, well, what was kind of interesting is the clutch is fresh. So I had a clutch on it at some point, and they pulled the trans to do it. I can tell because the trans has been out of the truck before. I don't think the motor ever was. But they needed to resurface the flywheel when they did it, and they didn't. They just slapped a clutch on it. but it looks like the clutch has hardly any wear. I mean, it's you can tell. I mean, look at this, everything's all old and grimy. And the clutch is pretty darn fresh. So, that's kind of, if there's a plus to anything, this motor being locked up and all this, it's got a good clutch. I don't gotta buy a clutch for it, but I gotta resurface that flywheel or buy a new one. Kind of what I expected, I guess. The guy wasn't getting that motor freed up. There's no way. There's no way. Could let it sit in acetone ATF mix for another 50 years and it would just be rustier and more stuff is all it would be. All right. It had those goofy little, kind of cool little West Coast Junior mirrors that went to 67 to 70 mirror hole brackets, or excuse me, mirror holes. The brackets went to those, that style mirror mount. Well, this is, of course, was a factory 71, 72 style sport mirror truck. And I want to go back to those. So I got a new set of those here. And I'll show you guys. Okay, so as you can see, it goes to those holes. Well, I've got a few other little holes here. That one's trying to poke out of the bottom, and that one behind it. I got them ground down. I'm going to weld them up and dab a little bit of primer on them just to make it so they're not, just to, you know, just holes on the side of the door still. Try to hide them a little bit, make it look a little bit better. I don't know, if those mirrors would have went to this style hole, I probably left them, but it just kind of bugged me, and it'll look better with the mirrors it came with. Because nothing looks better than sport mirrors, even if you can't see shit out of them. That is just the way they are. But they look cool. As you guys can see here, I've been buffing a little bit on the door. So I'm going to be sticking this mirror on, and the access with the buffer won't be as good. That medium bronze paint is just coming right back. It's going to look sharp. Whole truck should buff out about like that and look pretty darn cool. All right, I got the mirrors all finished up last night. See my little spot of primer. If I point it out, you kind of see it. Probably blends in. If not, it's not perfect, but not the first thing you noticed. Might feather it out a little bit and try to make it look a little bit better. I bet there's big old gaping holes in the side of the door. Perfection is not our goal at this one. We're trying to make it just good. And this is good. I also did get the door opening and closing. Also dropped the seat off to be recovered. Just going to do a heavy duty Naugahyde black cover on it because it was just so brittle and falling apart. Every time you sat in it, more chunks of the cover came off. And so getting the seat recovered. So at the guy's place right now. And I had the flywheel resurfaced like I just talked about in the last little video. It was much needed. So I took out the machine shop and they trimmed her down. Clutch still looks great. So I'm gonna use the same clutch, and in a couple days here, I should be able to have that motor pulled out of the other truck. So with any luck here, the next week or so, this thing should be a runner. I'm gonna keep picking away at it here. And this side, the window never wanted to roll down. I thought it was just from sitting for all those years, and so I had the door panel off and playing with it, trying to mess with it. Well, I finally see the window had fallen off the track and it was all bound up. That track was towards the front and it was holding the window regulator up because it was all bound up in there. So after some monkeying around, I finally kind of got it out. Oh, things are falling all over the place here. It's a mess. I've always got a mess going on. So I finally got a little chunk unlodged from holding the window up, and then I was able to get the window down and kind of make it all, well, come out after a little bit of playing around there. And got the mirror on this side too, got that all done, and all doctored up, extra holes welded up and stuff. But I want to clean this up and of course make it so this window rolls up and down normally. So the bottom of the door has like an inch or two of dirt and turds. Yeah, probably. I'll get this all vacuumed out and cleaned up. I'm just gonna wash this door because it's so dirty on the inside, and just hose it out with the hose after I get done vacuuming it too. So with any luck here, should have a functioning door that opens and closes and the window rolls up and down on both sides. How about that? Which shows it in the sun where I was buffing last night compared to the non-buffed, faded original paint, buffed original paint. So yeah, that's our transformation there. Basically before and after, we're gonna get the whole truck looking like that top bit there, all nice and shiny and clean. All right, the bronze K10. It's got its new heart here awaiting it. Don't look like much because it ain't much, but it'll be just right. So, a little newer than I hoped. It's ended up being a 1985 350, but it is a truck one. It's a 4-bolt main, and it ran really good. I ran this in the truck right before I pulled it out. Devin had a square body lying out back at Joe's place, and Joe helped me pull the thing out. Thanks to Joe for the help last night, yarding us out of that old truck. Yeah, it ran really good. No noises, didn't overheat. It had good power, actually. It has been rebuilt before. It's been decked, so there's no suffix. But for the casting, said it's a 1980 to 1985 350 truck 4-bolt main. Again, a little newer than I'd like to throw in this old girl, but it will serve the purpose, and it ran good. So I'm happy with that. And so I've got to get it busted off this transmission. That's 700R4. Dev's gonna keep that, so I'm gonna get the cherry picker ready, start lifting up the engine, and bust this trans off the back of it, and start taking some of the stuff off. I can't use these manifolds, don't want to anyways, even if I could. And long water pump, gotta get rid of that. Got a short water pump for the truck, and yeah, get the rest of the square body stuff taken off of it, and get it pressure washed, get it cleaned up, and get some Chevy orange on it. Do a little rattle can rebuild, and yeah, the old K10 farm truck's gonna have a, well, new heart. It's gonna be a busy day, getting all dirty, making this thing not dirty. That's what it's gonna be. All right, time to get started. Got it hanging here, soaking in degreaser. I think this is all just gonna wipe right off. It was kind of just a light, gunky little coat. Cleaned up pretty good, I think. Cleaned up pretty good. It's a little surface rusty. I go over with the wire wheel and kind of get a little more scuffed up, cleaned up, ready for the new paint. Paint job, rebuilding a can, but yeah, cleaned up pretty good. This motor has been rebuilt before, and like all sorts of, they really like their orange gasket maker. I'm not saying that's the reason it's been rebuilt, but it's been decked because the suffix code's gone off the stamp of the block, and you can see it's had all its seals done before. The oil pan was resealed, and it's got head gaskets that aren't original. I can see poking through there, and of course has the Saddlebrock intake on it and a few other things. So who knows, might be nice inside. It ran good, like I said, so I feel comfortable putting it in the truck. I am, however, not going to use that intake. I'm not going to use those valve covers either. I don't want to use those ones. These are the square body ones. They got the little stamps and the different kind of style oil cap and stuff. So I'm gonna use those ones and paint them up orange. So I'm gonna pop these valve covers and this intake off this motor, since I won't be using them. Peek inside, make sure there's nothing scary that's actually hiding in there from what a guy can see. Cool, just what I wanted to see. Pretty clean inside. It's got a little bit of a sludge build up here in the back corner of the intake valley, but a little bit right there. Pretty clean inside. That's what I wanted to see. Cool. Nothing scary here. No push rods that are looking ugly. Nothing jumping out as me as bad or broken. All right, I got the correct valve covers and the original intake all pressure washed and cleaned up. Intake needs a little more wire wheel action and kind of attention before it's ready for paint. One thing I like to do when I'm pressure washing and you got something lightweight or you know, small that is a pain to pressure wash, like to just kind of get a wood block, and if you can, if it's got a hole in it, just screw it down to the wood block, and that way it holds it there. You're not trying to, you know, pressure wash those valve covers and have them fly across the parking lot. I've been eating crud and grease and gunk all day. All right, I finally got it all prepped, ready for paint. As good as it's gonna be, good enough for what it is. It's hard with projects like this, you know. I mean, it's just a rusty old truck. It ain't getting restored. It's gonna get driven around the way it is. It's a pretty nice truck, you know. So you want the motor to look, engine bay to look nice, and you spend all day, well, it feels like all day, scrubbing, pressure washing, you know, just trying to make this used, you know, kind of mystery engine be nice, you know, to go on a truck that's, I don't know, you guys get what I'm trying to say here. It is kind of funny with projects like this because the truck itself, you know, it's just an old beater, but it's pretty straight, it's pretty decent. I mean, this is a truck is worthy of, you know, engine replacement, so you might as well do it right, right? But you know what it costs nowadays to go have an engine rebuilt is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but for what this truck is currently, buying a used engine is, you know, kind of makes the most sense. That's what I did. Get this thing going again on a budget. And just this costs money and time and whatnot. So, you know, but it's going to a decent truck, so you want it to be, well, somewhat decent and looking decent, the engine bay. You don't want it to look like you just crammed another grimy, greasy 350 in there, especially one that's the wrong color, that's blue, you know, so if you're gonna do a good job, make the paint stick, you gotta prep it right, you gotta clean it good, and pretty soon you're spending the whole day on, well, cleaning up a used mystery motor 350. I don't know, it feels kind of funny sometimes. Where do you stop? Where do you stop? That's what I like to say. And one of these projects like this makes you feel that way a lot. Like, am I wasting my time? No, I'm not, because I want to do it right and make it nice. But making it nice would be putting a rebuilt motor in here, but it's not always in the cards. And this will get it back on the road, and you pop the hood, it's going to look decent and be respectable on all accounts. And for all reasons, this kind of makes sense. You just put a runner 350 in it, get the truck going again. The guy can take that engine there. He's gonna really do it right. Tear it down, see if that block is rebuildable, because that's the engine to rebuild and put back on the truck as for its original engine, for the suffix and code, the casting code and whatnot. Rebuild that engine. Do it right, spend the money, make it nice. It might take a year or so of saving or whatever it be, planning, find a good shop, do the work. In the meantime, drive around the truck with this sufficient running motor in it. First coat on. Try to always do a little bit of a light coat, and that way you don't get the run city going on. It's already looking better. Another coat to be looking at its part. With this, I'm thinking here, this is the best way to put it. This is not its forever engine. It's its right now engine. So right now, it's getting its right now engine. And it's not going to be in here probably forever, but for right now it's going to work perfect. It'll get the truck back on the road. The guy can drive the truck around with this thing in it. This thing was sufficient. It had power. It hit on all 8. It didn't smoke, didn't make any noise, and have a truck, drive around and enjoy it, while a guy can save up money to rebuild that engine or another one, you know, to have a really nice small block go in it. Maybe that time, you know, the guy's doing the rush repair and fixing other things in the truck, but for now, this puts it back on the road. So not its forever engine, it's the right now engine, and for right now it makes sense. Get the seat recovered, turned out really nice. Heavy duty Naga hide cover. Yeah, stoked with that. All right, well now we're getting somewhere. It's about ready to go in. As you can see, the line was drawn, and it was drawn on the exhaust manifolds. So, probably gonna sound lazy with my excuses here, but here's my thought process. Those exhaust manifolds, original, you can see this one here, was baked in the center by the heat, not heat riser, but the heat stove that goes up to the air cleaner. And this one over here is old and crusty, rusty too. They're really rusty on the inside. I pressure washed them out, chipped them out, and I had all that rust from them being on the old motor there. And like I say, those ports are all full of rust and gunk, and it looks so bad now, but they're bad. And the inside exhaust manifolds look like that too. Now, I looked for cracks, didn't find any cracks, but I didn't want to sit and spend an hour plus time wire wheeling, cleaning, and painting these exhaust manifolds just for one of these to go out after a couple weeks of driving, which easily could happen. That's what happens a lot of times, is they sit forever, you know, and you go run this truck hard, you know, up a big steep hill or grade or something like that, and it'll pop one of these little exhaust manifolds out from the heat. And so I drew a line there. I didn't feel like painting those. Only to be disappointed by them failing here soon. Ideally, the guy should get new ones. Even though these really aren't showing they're broken yet, I'm not trusting them, let's put it that way, for how rusty they were inside. I mean, look at this. I've already cleaned them out multiple times, but this is all, that's how thick the rust and gunk was inside. I'm not sure half that is just, you know, mouse poop and junk and crud and whatnot. But I don't have any other exhaust manifolds lying around that are good, that are 4x4s. I put together my last two, the big burb there, on that motor swap, which is a whole nother story all on its own. Probably one of the next videos. One of those times where you put a motor in, it has to come right back out. All right, so the distributor stab, intake's all torqued down. It's all good to go. Got the clutch pivot ball on the side of the block. Yeah, oh, water pumps in the front. And yeah, flywheel's on. New pilot bushing installed in the back of the crank. I just gotta slam this clutch on there. And oh, the motor mounts, the pads. So, got a little PSA for you guys. Now I'm sure if you guys play 67 to 72 Chevy trucks, you ran into this before. But if you haven't, write this down, make a note, because this is gonna happen to you at some point. So the cheap over-the-counter new motor mounts they sell for these trucks. This is a small block Chevy, N6 cylinder, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive mount. All these trucks use them, besides basically big block. These are used pretty commonly throughout this generation of truck. All the same mount. Okay, anyways, 3 little bolts, this little pad goes right to the frame. So it just has one 7/16 coarse thread bolt that holds it in place to the engine crossmember through this side. Well, if you look at the new ones you get, look at that. When they put these things together, they rubberize or vulcanize, whatever the heck they do, glue these things together. Look at that mess in there in those threads. You can't even see any threads, right? Barely, kind of a little bit, So, of course, never fails. I had this happen to me one time. I never again was gonna let it happen to me. I put the new motor mounts on the motor, put the motor in, hooked everything up, hooked my exhaust up, put all my, distributor, my carb, everything was all in place. Like, oh yeah, I'll go and do those motor mount bolts now. And you couldn't get them started because it was so gunked up in there. Had to lift the motor back up, pop the pad off, and yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So when you get new cheap motor mounts from Napa, O'Reilly's, wherever it be, wherever you get your parts from, check those threads before you put them on the block, because a lot of times they're all gunked up. I already tapped that one out. That one was grody, and this one looks like it's as bad. But okay, yeah, check those threads, guys, because it will happen to you. All right, motor mount pads are on. Pressure plate is on. Bolts torqued to spec. This is the first time in all my years I've ever reused the clutch that was on the motor when I pulled it out, because, well, it was damn near brand new. So I did put new lock washers on the bolts though, because they were squished and they were now flat washers and no longer locks. Okay, it's ready to go in. I'm gonna dab a little bit of grease on that input shaft, the splines, and the pilot. And yeah, actually I'm gonna hop in there and make sure that draw bearing's good. It was. I checked it when I pulled the motor out, but just to double check. There should be a motor in here. Next, I'm gonna give myself a half hour. These are a turd sometimes to get them lined up on the splines, and they're so dang close to the firewall. If you're by yourself, it could be a bit of a pain. You gotta kind of get a floor jack underneath the trans and kind of get them just right. It's all about the, and once you get that all right, they just slide right in. So for the starter, here's what I'm gonna do. This is what I typically do, actually. So this one's cooked. I showed that in the last video. Top of the motor being locked up, this thing was throwing a fit as soon as we were trying to make the motor turn over. I don't know, just due to it being locked up and it not being able to do the job, but it was smoking, it was not having a good time, it smelled awfully burnt. So this thing's toast. Got a new starter here. Now they're different, but this is what I went and picked up from Napa, and I do it this way for a reason. So whenever you go get, this of course is a manual transmission, this bolts through the bell housing, towards the back of the truck, and one bolt coming back forward, and automatic one goes up into the engine block itself. So they kind of attach differently. Well, sure, you go on there to the parts store, you can get a new starter, you know, with this nose cone. They're never right. I've tried it about 3 or 4 different times. I've never gotten one that actually was just a bolt in and go. They'll have too much, you know, meat, you know, on the casting here on the nose cone itself that kind of goes into the bell housing. It just won't quite sit right. Had one where the threads weren't right, you know, it didn't have threads when it should have in a spot. One of them, it was just off, you know, it wasn't quite right. So a lot of times, every time I should say, I've tried to go and just get a, you know, remanufactured over-the-counter starter for one of the 4-speed or, you know, 3-speed manual transmission trucks in this era. They're never, ever right. So here's what I do. And you're safe to do this as long as your bushing here in your old starter, your isn't all wallowed out, and this one's not. So we're good. As long as this is good here, you're doing all right. So I just swapped the nose cones. And plus, not only the fact of that the replacement starter for this is like $100 versus the automatic ones being only 60, much more common and simple nose cone. These new aluminum nose cones are super chintzy on these over-the-counter starters. But yeah, so this is $100 to replace that one, a new one that isn't right, it doesn't bolt in. This one's only 60, so I always just buy this one and put all the new stuff on the old nose cone. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a hack, but it works, and it gets you the best starter with your original, you know, correct, nice fitting nose cone. Ideally, take us down, have it rebuilt at the starter shop. Yes, I realize that would be best. My little podunk town, we do not have one of those. The closest one of those is 3 hours away. So I rebuild them myself. Okay, so I'm gonna get this all swapped over and get it ready to go in the truck. And like that, we've got a new starter with the correct nose cone. Just gotta put the other one back together for a core, and yeah, get this installed in the truck. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Got new starter installed down there, got new heater hoses in place. I fixed the battery tray, put a new lower pan in it, welded that in. Radiator is installed. I gotta get hoses on it, and I can get some water in it. It has oil in it. I already filled that up. Yeah, carb and fan, belt, coolant, a few little odds and ends, and should be ready to fire up for the first time. So with any luck here in the next hour or so, we should hear this thing making some noise. Oh, I gotta go to this town and get some gas too. We get some gas. But yeah, it's damn near ready. We're getting there. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. I did not touch the carb other than pour a gallon of ATF down it when I was trying to get this motor to, okay, what's leaking? Already leaking. Where are we leaking from? Carb's already leaking. Let's see what happens. See what happens. Okay, we got power, and she is in neutral. Yep, okay. Come on, baby, let's do it. Ooh. So I bet it's those new points, the dwell's off. I'm almost guaranteeing that's it. My dwell meter under somewhere. It was not the points. I even pulled these ones out and put another set in, kept messing with it, and finally got the dwell with my hood mounted dwell meter. I'm doing this by myself here. I was turning over and making little adjustments and got it to 30, and the thing is still just popping and backfiring and throwing a fit. And I have the distributor 180 out. It's the first time, I swear on this, that's the first time I've ever done that. I've been wrenching playing these trucks for a good decade or so, and done many times, and never done that before. I've always heard of, you know, it being a possibility, and I've always like super double checked it was on top dead center, and my go-to method is I always pull number one spark plug and turn the motor over, and you know, watch the timing mark down below on the balancer. And when it you can feel the air coming out of the cylinder, that's compression up cycle. And yeah, it with your finger on the hole, of course, you turning it over with your finger on the number one spark plug hole as you're coming around to what would be top dead center, you can feel the compression coming out on that number one spark plug hole as it's coming up to build compression and fire, you know, start the next cycle at top dead center. And I've always done that. I did this motor the same way. I don't know, maybe it was on the phone when I was setting it, maybe I wasn't paying attention, a bit goofed up, but I've never done a distributor 180. So I just fired up, it just barely ran for a bit, but it is running now. And it needs to be tuned and timed and all that stuff. But let's see here. Come on, baby. Here I am talking her up. A little bit too much dwell. I should leave it there. It's like a Pontiac GTO with a hood-mounted dwell meter for tuning on the fly. Again. So it's running pretty good, clearing itself out. Again, I didn't touch that carb, and it's running better and better. I've killed it a couple times with carb clean now, and it seems to idle a little bit better, and it's running good. It's responsive. So. He didn't want to race. Can't blame him. We're gonna race for pinks. All right, getting a little bit of clean up and detail work done on the truck now that it's running. The wife is inside. She's scrubbing up the interior. It's already looking quite a bit better. Got the new seat in there. It's getting there. It's gonna need quite a bit of scrubbing, but really it needs a new floor mat is what it needs. But for now, we're gonna rock the old original one and clean up what we got. It's already looking and smelling better in there. I'm gonna get on buffing this paint. You can see where I did a little bit of it here behind the mirrors when I put those on. Turned out pretty nice. That old GM original paint always comes back, and most all of this truck is original paint, or of what's left of it. It's all bare metal here, and the hood's starting to get a little thin in quite a few spots. But I'm gonna go over it with the buffer, the whole truck now, and had some touch-up work done in back here. You can see there's some filler and some stuff that has already got damaged and damaged again. The old beat-up farm truck. The beds are always beat on. The rest of the truck's pretty darn straight, and it's going to shine up really nice. So what I'm using today is Wizards. This is kind of my go-to, either their Mystic Cut or their Turbo Cut. It's real heavy and you know, cuts all oxidization off, and you know, produces a shine that's, well, as you guys can see, pretty good. I'm gonna go over the truck with this first and check for swirls and possibly a swirl remover compound after this. I used to detail cars and spent many years doing that, and it's always fun doing old shitty paint old trucks because you can do this. You know, you don't care. It's got, you can set your buffer up there or whatever. You know, it ain't some fancy show car where you're all worried about the paint, you know, being totally perfect. Well, this thing, there, got all the nicks and scratches. It's just kind of, you can just kind of do these, well, sloppy, but you can do them and they turn out awesome. So, okay, so I'm gonna get going here on the buffer, start flinging some compound around and see what we can get done here. Sunday, and oh, I did get the truck scheduled for exhaust, so I'm taking it there tomorrow, and I'm gonna get some exhaust put on the truck and get it all shut up and quiet so I can keep testing and tuning on it. I just drove it there for the first time, and it drives pretty good. Actually, surprisingly, it's tight and it goes on the road nice. It felt like it had a brake stuck on there for a bit, and the brake light was on the dash. So I don't know if it was kind of holding the brake on, but I drove it down the road and back and a couple times, and it shut off, and it felt like the brake kind of quit dragging itself. So I'll probably pull the wheels and tires back off and get them checked out and make sure everything's all kosher in there. But they work. I mean, the thing stops nice and everything. It's got good pedal feel, but just felt like it had a brake stuck on. So, all right, we're getting somewhere now. This paint is putting up a fight. It's so chalky. I don't think even when it was, you know, maybe closer to new and more shiny, they washed it back then. It's just so weathered, battered, tattered. Some of the driest paint I ever had to buff on an old truck. It's really put up a fight. I've gone through already a half bottle of compound and a pad already. That's my second pad. It's just really dry and having a tough time, but it's coming around with some work. That's what the paint looks like now. I mean, that's polished. This isn't some, you know, goop or clear or wax that's shoved on there. The paint is polished, and that is the new finish of the paint. So yeah, it's a cool color. It's funny because it, you know, when they get all worn like this and thin, it kind of almost looks multicolored because this is black primer. You can see, you can kind of see it in there, kind of faint behind the paint that they use on the fenders and the hood and the front clip. And the doors are red primer, so it gives it more of kind of an orangey look once it starts to show through. It almost looks like this is orange and that's bronze, but then you get down lower and you see, well, that is the same color. It's just up here where it's more worn off. The red's showing through here and the black showing through here. I went and got the car trailer, and I'm gonna get loaded up tonight, take it to the exhaust shop tomorrow morning. And while it's at the exhaust shop, I'm gonna go get, well, a chunk of a truck that's gonna have our bed floor. I'm sticking a bed floor in it. That's what it needs the most. It's gonna get it. So I'm gonna do it. A bunch of dirty work doing that, but we're gonna get her done. Oh yeah, and if you guys are keen or seen that there's a Blazer half cab that my good buddy Gabe Bosma, K5 Blazer guy, guru, the man himself, gave to me. And it's a little tough shape, a little battered, tattered. This is one of the steel ones. I've had the fiberglass and now steel. I think this might go on Chelsea's Blazer. They're pretty cool. Yeah, from Iowa with love, Blazer half cab. I get that out of the back, get these old slots out of the back, and yeah. The bed floor, that's the next big project on this. All right, there's our final product. Almost final product, I should say. Paint is pretty thin in a lot of places. Has a pretty cool look to it. The patina, there's all the truck hipsters call it. Pretty cool. Oh, shined right up. It took some effort. The paint was really dry. I buffed quite a few of these old trucks and other cars and stuff like that, and this one put up a pretty good fight. Wore through a whole bottle of compound and a couple pads. It was just really dry. Yeah, now it cleaned up and looks pretty sharp. That's what it looks like now. This isn't just goop, you know, or wax or clear applied to the top of the old paint. This is what the paint itself looks like now. It is buffed to look like this. Let's clean it up and look in this part. You can see this back half of this bed right here is painted. It's got a lot fresher paint back here and not quite a, you know, exact match, but it adds character. All right, been cruising around the little K10 today. Put some miles on it, some more test and tune, and it's doing really good. Doing the bed floor. It's the last big thing it really needs before it's a, well, functioning truck. So we got this one pulled out on our bed I had. It's not perfect itself, but it doesn't have a giant missing, well, doesn't have that. Got Jesse's help today. He's down here helping me out and making quick work of it with the two of us. With any luck here, we'll have this bed off, and we'll bust the sides off and start putting them on this new to this truck floor. Got the exhaust done. I'll show you guys that here in a bit. Sounds pretty good. Just a little cruiser. It's been driving really nice, running really good, and yeah, I'm excited about this one. Okay, we're gonna get back to work here. Kind of a busy day. Don't have time to film everything we're doing here. Kind of got to get this done today, and yeah, we'll show you guys some more as the progress goes on. All right, so we got the bed off, and Jesse's tearing down the bed and removing the bed sides we'll be reusing to install on our new floor we're putting in. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna take a moment and pressure wash the rear frame rails here while the bed's off, since I can. Kind of checking everything out, kind of giving it a once over. Looks like a 50-year-old truck. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Spiral shocks in the back. Those are original shocks. Still wearing its original. It's got, the front's got changed out at some point, but the back's still the original shocks. So I'm gonna get this all douched down and degreaser, and I'm gonna probably change the back bumper too. So I've got one of the exact same style. It's a lot better shape. This doesn't look too bad here on camera, but up close in person, it's just kind of mangled and real rusty in the center, and it's bent where that ball's at. So I'll get that ripped off of here and yeah, get ready to get this well, new to it bed floor in place and start putting the bed back together. The rear section of the frame all pressure washed and cleaned up real nicely. Everything's all solid and straight back here and looking good. Jesse got the sides off of the bad bed floor and got that all split apart. And we got a few little things we got to do to it here while the bed is off of it for just easier access. And yeah, here in a little bit we should be assembling it with its new bed floor and get it to be in a truck again, a truck that can haul something without a giant gaping hole in the bed. It's got a bed floor in it. It got dark on us rather quickly, but we got her done. Got a few things to button up tomorrow: tail lights, bumper, and get tailgate fitting as good as it can for what it is. And but yeah, that's a success. The truck has a bed floor in it. So more on that tomorrow. Me and Jesse are celebrating with more work, and we're kind of well, we're gonna end our curiosity here. So this motor, well, it is no good, as I showed you guys at the start of the video. The heads are rusty from the exhaust ports, and so the heads are bad. That's why it's a little locked up. It's just a disaster in there. We're curious what the block looks like, cylinder walls and all that jazz. So me and Jesse are over here taking bets. And Jesse, what was your
oh, it's junk.
It's junk, he says. And I'm not gonna bet against him. At this point, I'm gonna say it's junk too. So let's see what's behind head number one. Ooh. I got it. Got her. Well, it's that marble mystery oil in it. that I put in there. Hey, man.
This side doesn't look that bad.
All right.
A little bit of rust down there, but nothing terrible.
Be curious if we pop the other head off and it's able to turn over then.
Yeah.
Looking actually pretty good. Really, for what it is. It's got a pretty mean ridge. But, I mean, I think it's a virgin block. It's safe to say. Okay, let's take that one off. See what's behind. See behind head number 2. You changing your bet now?
Maybe a little bit. But we know it's got an issue, so it's got to be behind here.
I think it might have just been the heads. What's that one look like? Get a light on that. You got it?
You know, it's not terrible.
It's not.
That one's definitely rusty. It's got some rust underneath the oil there.
Oh. This is it.
Oh, there
we found it. We found it. That was it. But I'm not gonna tell you it's ruined. We'll get that cleaned out of there. Show you all the heads. Look how bad they are. That valve's not even seated all the way. It has so much rust, it's actually pulling down on the valve spring by rust growing in between the seat and the valve. Well, a little persuasion here from our old 2x4 buddy. And me on the crank, we got her to break free without much effort. So I think really it was the heads and the valve train that was really holding this thing stuck. It did have an unhappy cylinder here though, but you can see it's got pretty good scaly flaky rust, but
it's all on top. It might clean up.
It's the virgin block, so
yeah,
I mean
should go.
Yeah, it's a virgin bore. I mean,
and that was the only one we had to hit.
Everything else was happy to move and wasn't stuck. That one had a little bit. It brought that gunk up with it. It's got lots of meat there for a guy to, work on getting that cleaned up. It's just really scaly. It's weird because it really sat with just that one cylinder. I'm not convinced it didn't leak through the head. I mean, just the you know what I mean? Because it's like, why is that one cylinder unhappy? And the whole, all the way down. So what side was that? That was this one here. And it's just nasty in there,
Just on the
here.
Intake stroke.
It wasn't open.
That valve's stuck open.
Look, there we go. That was it.
Yep.
That was. Check it out. So the valve was open. Look at how bad that is. So that was leaking just enough mouse poop and shit into that cylinder that it still was this. These heads they're just shot. These are just junk. You can see how bad that is. Because the mice crawled to the exhaust and made a home where they weren't supposed to be.
Mystery solved.
Mystery solved. It was mouse poop the whole entire time, and it almost ruined the block. I'm not going to say it did. I think that's going to clean up, and this original motor can be rebuilt. And like I was kind of saying earlier in the video, that can be rebuilt, and it can be put back in that truck as that's for the place for it to be.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. These aren't going to go back on the truck though. Those can go in the scrap metal bin. Those are junk. Those aren't the heads you want to put on there anyways if you're trying to make anything more than 250 horsepower. So it's all good. Well, shit, man, we were both wrong. I guess maybe we should bet against things more often, and maybe they'll actually go in our favor. Secretly, I was wanting it to be good, but I was just betting on it being bad. But cool. So it's unstuck. We unstuck the stuck motor. Put some fucking Vortec heads on it, and fucking we'll have it running by midnight, right?
Yeah.
So I can get out your wire wheel, get it all cleaned up. Cool. That's a positive note to end the day on.
Yeah.
That rocks. All right, it's a new day. And this thing has got a new to it bed floor. It can once again haul load and be used as a truck. It's not perfect, the one I stuck in there like I was saying, but it's fitting and it actually looks like it's been there for the last 50 years. Kind of funny. Got the tailgate on. I did gap it a little bit and pull the bed sides in and weld them up. Stick the bottom corner bolts in once I had it all kind of set in place and happy and everything. That's how they are factory too. They set the gaps and then they did little welds on both sides. So always mimic that. Tailgate opens and closes, latches both sides. Before this side was kind of kicked out, leaned out from heavy weight and was never latching, but now it's latching on both sides. Tailgate is still atrocious. I buffed it, made it shine like the rest of the truck. It really shows its dents and ugliness, but hey, it's better than nothing. And big dents right there showing themselves pretty good too. That's the worst of it now. Now the bed floor is replaced. These are looking pretty ugly, but hey, it's doing better than it was sitting there in that field. So I'm gonna get the rear bumper on, and I gotta get the splash guards. Go behind the rear tire back in place. And this bed floor swap is complete. To apologize, I kind of want to show you guys more of the process that entailed to tear those beds apart and swap this bed floor over to this truck. But it was kind of just a busy day. There wasn't a lot of time for filming and only really time for work and getting things done. But they're pretty simple, really. Just all nuts and bolts and a couple welds. You got to kind of cut and play around with to get these things apart. The biggest trick is that I wanted to show you guys that's pretty simple to remember, but the carriage bolts you can see here, there's all new ones holding this bed together. They go around the perimeter. Don't loosen them, the old ones. Tighten them with the impact till they break, and that's your surefire way of getting them apart, because if you loosen them, they will loosen for a little bit. A lot of times they'll get to the rusty part of the threads and they'll spin, and it's just a mess, and you got to cut it. You're spinning and making those square holes around. They're just kind of a little pain in the butt. The easiest way to get them apart is to break them. So put an impact on those old bolts if you're tearing a bed apart, and all the little ones around it, the 5/16 carriage bolts. Tighten them until they break, and then they're out of the way, and you're going to assemble it with new bolts anyways. So the fastest way to get them apart is to tighten the bolts and break them. Well, it's alive again. What do you think, Scoop? Does it pass the test, bud? It's a good boy. Me and Scoop been cruising around all afternoon, and yeah, it's a good little runner now. So the exhaust, 2 1/4. Got the chambered mufflers on it. Nothing crazy. Sounds good. Little clip of the exhaust there, you guys can hear it. Pretty well, it's a stock 350, it sounds like, but this was kind of a mystery motor. Exhaust is 2 1/4. Brand new pipe all the way back. It's just a happy little small block. Steering wheel is definitely next on the list. It's just crumbling apart. The 3 in a tree is pretty funny to drive because you damn near gotta slip the clutch to get it out of the hole. That first gear is so tall, and then once you're rolling, it's fine. You know, it's a thing of the past. Runs pretty good. As you guys can see, I have some non-functioning gauges here. The speedo cable is broken where it attaches to the transfer case, and the gas gauge was working and then quit. So I gotta play around with that and figure out what's going on there. But I brought Scoot on down to the lake. It's his favorite place to be. What are you doing, buddy? Hey, Scoot, what are you doing? He wants me to go play with him, throw a stick for him. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a happy ending for this truck. At least in my ownership, it is. I'm going to sell this pickup, and I've actually got some really good friends who are going to buy it from me. We kind of had a deal kind of cooking in the works and whatnot, and I'm actually selling to them tomorrow. And so I'm taking a truck and I'm going to meet them halfway, deliver it, and yeah, it should be all good. Looking forward to it. It's going to a great home, and I'm just kind of happy with how this one all kind of turned out here, at least in my ownership. They're going to take it to the next level. They're going to do more work to it and get it more sorted out, which it needs. It needs lots of little things, you know, to be, well, good. It's fair right now. It's fair, it's honest, it's decent, but with some more work, it can be a pretty darn good little truck, even better than it is. Steering wheel, obviously, is probably first and foremost on that list. Oh boy, yeah. Floor mat, a guy could clean that up. Cab's got rust in the usual places. If a guy wanted to get to doing that, a guy could do that too. But you know, right now it's kind of all matching. You know, it's presentable, it's usable, it's a work truck. Let's put it that way. It's doing a lot better than it was sitting there dead in that field, up against that side fence, and bunny rabbits growing out of the hood. And yeah, no, it's just doing a lot better than it was. And so I'm happy that I could be the caretaker for a short little bit here and be the one to kind of bring it back to life and find it its next good home. It's kind of funny. I don't always get attached to these trucks. I love them all, and for some reason I get attached to some of them and some of them I don't. I can't say why or what that is, but it's gonna be hard to see this one go. It's a cool little truck, and you don't always find them like this. I mean, it's K-truck country here in Washington. We have lots of K-trucks, but most of them are, well, pretty well beat on, just like they are anywhere else, you know. And so this is a pretty decent shape to find a four-wheel drive pickup in. And if I found them all like this, well, things would be all right. That'd be pretty darn cool. Not complaining, just got to appreciate the ones, you know, like this when they come along, because again, this isn't always the case. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the resurrection on this here truck. As always, more 67 to 72 content soon.